I don't think we're going to get our Irishman from across the pond to join us today. Hi, everyone. It is the Real Estate Morning News Show. Welcome. We are going to talk all things real estate. And I have my guests in the house who kind of know what they're talking about. So, and we're going to talk through all different kinds of things. But I will let them introduce themselves. I'm Amy Palvido. I'm your host. I come to you every week from Austin, Texas, and I am the CEO of Facilimax. I'm also the chair of the U.S. PropTech Council. And Deanie is in the house. Hey, Deanie, how are you?
Hi, Deanie Taylor, CEO at Landmark Healthcare. We develop medical office buildings all over the country and have started acquiring. So I'm going to get back into buying medical buildings.
Good morning, Jacob Newman. I am Director of Channel and Partnerships at RealPage. So we work primarily in multifamily, but I have a background in low voltage and basically anything low voltage and smart tech, building prop tech.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we have Alice. Alice joined us. Hey, girly. You're on mute, girlfriend. You're on mute. It was great. Whatever you said, it was awesome. It was like the best ever. Whatever you said. No. Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. It was really weird. Alice, I couldn't hear a damn thing you said, but it was weird. We're having issues today. I don't know. I'm just going to roll with it. It's recording. Everybody can hear it. Alice is awesome. If y'all don't know Alice, you should know Alice. She's awesome. She knows everything about the world. Okay. We're going to kick this show off and we're going to talk through a couple of things. And I wanted to start with like the last story, which is there's this trend, or I hope there should be a trend towards when people are building communities that they're thinking about connectivity first, right? And not just, well, yes, we all need Wi-Fi if we don't have Wi-Fi, but how we connect with our, making sure we're not creating communities that they're in medical deserts, like they don't have doctors, they don't have a way to get together. There's this one guy who has this thing called, I don't know, Friendsville, whatever. He's building a community where you pick your neighbors and everybody has he's got like 70 of these communities out there now where everybody kind of picks who their friends are or their family that they're going to live next to. And the way he designs this community, he has central places in the middle where people can get together. So it's all built around this connectivity thing. It had very Wi-Fi friendly and it has the ability, but this thought or this trend to where people are, when we're building these communities, we're actually being strategic. I like to lead with that topic. So Alice is a newbie. She's got to know how this show rolls. We just chat. It's like a conversation. So just jump in whenever you want to jump in. So I'll leave with you, girlfriend. What do you think about that topic?
Can't hear. Can't hear you. She's going to log back in, I think. What she said.
Did we lose her?
She's got to log back in, she
We
said.
lost her. There we go. All right. I don't know what happened. All right. So did y'all hear anything I said?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
could.
yeah, we just couldn't hear her. Okay, I'm not crazy. All right. Okay, I thought I was crazy. So, what do you think about this, like developing these communities in a very smart way?
Well, there's Paul.
There he is. There he is.
Morning. Sorry. Apologies if my last call overran. I will write 100
It's it.
lines and must never be late again.
All right, no worries. So, we're talking about strategically planning communities for connectivity, Paul. This is what we're talking about, and not just like
Right.
internet, but physical community where you actually have people like, who want to talk to one another, those kinds of things. So are you seeing any trends over there in the UK?
Yeah, a lot. I think the 2012 Olympics was sort of a real case where they actually took that Olympic park and turned it into a really great community, built a wonderful park around it, very accessible, tried to stop people having cars as much as possible, which we don't really need as so much in London as we would in the US. And I see there's a lot happening here. It's essential, really. I think a lot of this sort of multifamily now becomes very isolated. Nobody actually knows the neighbors, and I think there's a lot of work on here to try and get communities to work together. Summer barbecues, etc., etc. So yeah, it's a great thing. It's essential, really. I think the isolation of cities and high rise, it just breeds isolations. And the more and more people are there, the less you can actually be. You can actually be extremely lonely in cities rather than in the countryside where people actually talk to you. So there's a lot going on here for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, very cool. So as somebody does a community, Deanie, are they reaching out to you like we need to have, is your target really to locate next to hospitals, or are you?
No.
No.
The growth is outpatient, and outpatient medical, the majority is not next to a hospital now. It's out where the patients are and physicians where they live. But, going back to what you're describing, back in the late 90s, that's what Celebration was that Disney did. That community was built very much like you're talking about, included schools, included a hospital and medical buildings, and retail and all of that, and very unique layouts of the various neighborhoods. We had a couple of those around Indianapolis. What I saw being a struggle was the retail element of it, was to have enough demand for retail to make that community really work. It ended up, they were vacant buildings, so to speak, commercial buildings. But I was in Birmingham at the time Celebration came about, and went over there to see it when it was just getting started. It was, and that community worked. It's still there. It's still. Yeah. It was a showcase forever, all through the early 2000s.
It's an interesting thing how it goes back and forth. Yeah, jump in, Alice.
So one thing I just want to comment about is, this rise of our aging demographic here in the U.S. I mean, it's pretty significant. Boomers are taking up pretty much the majority of, all of our population at this point. So we need to really think about this idea of multi-generational housing. And not a lot of communities are really proactively refining their zoning ordinance in order to enable that to happen. But, we've got, sort of the seniors right now who want to age in place. I mean, there's actually a trend right now, and I'm sure, Deanie, you're very familiar with this when you talk about memory care and all these other kind of facilities. But, there's a trend in some of the startups I work with where people want to age in place. They don't want to be in assisted living. They don't want to be outside of their homes. And what ends up happening is they've got their children taking care of them, right? And they've got their grandchildren taking care of them. And so we need to think more about affordable housing in the US and multi-generational housing. And what are the amenities that we need to build around that in order to enable them to be more sustainable? So I don't think we've cracked that nut here in the US yet. I think we're doing it kind of piecemeal. I mean, there's a few, communities in Florida that are solar powered, and, they have sort of this ethos around, okay, multi-generational affordable housing that's solar powered. Great. But like, that's ad hoc decision. I mean, we need to really think more holistically around that and how we're going to address affordability, especially as we have boomers wanting to age in place. I mean, that keeps
Well,
me up.
and I think that's where technology. Yeah, I think that's where technology comes in, right? Like, I want a robot nurse for my dad. Like, I want him to talk to like his computer, and it does everything for him. He talks to his house, whatever. He's 82.
No, I think your dad wants a robot computer because he's sick of seeing you.
No, exactly. But I think, but the same, he just had to have emergency surgery because he had like this weird thing happen, and they had to amputate part of his foot, and it was like awful. And for my dad, who's a Marine, who was mowing his yard last week, like, this is not a good thing, right? So now he's a little less mobile than he was before, but even then, he's like, he yells at his computer and does this. But I think technology solves this problem, right? If you can talk to your house and say, hey, tell me what's wrong, like, or you can talk to a computer, like, that's the day I'm waiting for. It's like, I don't have to tell my dad how to attach something to an email anymore, or whatever it might be. But aren't we there? I mean, like, this is good. I'm looking at Jacob. So Jacob, introduce yourself, by the way, too. And
sure.
Do that. We didn't start.
Yeah, you guys are speaking my language. Yeah, good morning, everyone. So my name is Jacob Newman. I've worked in low voltage for 20 years or so. And a couple of things. So I worked for a low voltage integrator in Central Florida back in the late 90s and early 2000s, and actually did a decent amount of work at Celebration. It was first of its kind that I knew of, right? It was at the time very, very tech forward. So it was interesting to see that, just as the concept of smart home and the products like Control4 and others were just coming to bear in the market. It was really neat to be a part of that. And Celebration's still going strong. And Amy, like, it relates to your initial question, is how do we plan for this? And I think it applies to new construction and retro, right? Because, we can all agree, we're probably all on the same page. The future is a more connected world. So I think that even for existing properties, what we've seen is ownership is turning while new construction's a little bit soft, money's really expensive right now. They're turning to their existing assets to modernize them, not only to stay competitive, but to enhance the resident or the renter experience, the tenant experience. So I think the future is a connected future. I think it's important to plan for that. And I think it's important to have the conversations around future proofing. Right, and how do you do that? On the simple end, it's redundant pathways for cabling, right? Because I think hardwired is going to be just as much a part of the future as wireless will be, right? As the wireless environment becomes more dense and more regulated, I think cabled internet, cabled connectivity is not going to go away, right? And touch is also something that Alice brought up. So I've been thinking about this lately, and the class of our citizenry that is sort of graduating into independent living, assisted living, and so forth in senior communities, those citizens will be, those renters, those residents will be continually more tech adept. So I think it's a good time to start thinking about senior tech, what that looks like, right? Because when you get into senior, you want to consider the hardware that they're having to use in their, and I'm speaking from a multi-family perspective, obviously, but you want to think about dexterity issues and how easy it is to use the tech and things like that. But I think it's important to plan for that, and we're even seeing lately that, there are a small number of companies that are really pivoting to focus on things like Wi-Fi retrofit. And to Deanie's point, if you're building, or just to add to something he said, if your building was built, say, after, I'm just guessing here, spitballing, maybe the year 2000, chances are the pathways are there that would facilitate that kind of retrofit. So I think you're going to see it not just in new construction, but it's going to be important for existing properties too.
Are they even thinking about it in new construction? Like, I still think that the developers today don't have this like technology in the forefront. Like, they're not even thinking about it. It's always like an afterthought. I don't know. Deanie's the developer in the room. So Deanie, do you have like a whole tech, like we're going to design this to make sure the technology, everything works? And do you do that? You do, because you're awesome. You're on mute. You're on mute, Deanie.
Amy, we try to make sure the capability is there, but the cost and you know, on the developer side, it all comes to, let's just be honest, comes down on rent, right? If the tenant's willing to pay for it, we'll put anything in the building they want. But I think the basics are there for technology to be introduced. But I would tell you on the medical side, we're not going in and putting the technology in unless the tenant is driving that.
Yeah.
The developer is not driving it.
Yeah. Okay. But so, and this goes back to the design of the building. I mean, there's ways to design buildings and then or create by well, you're building a box and it's offices and other things like that, but you can facilitate how the sensors work and how the Wi-Fi inside the building gets done and all these other different things by the design of the building.
Right. But here's the big difference in medical buildings, and I'm sure it's true in commercial. If it's a multi-tenant building, the tenants all want something different.
Yeah.
You can't get consistency. If it's a single tenant, if the hospital is the only tenant,
Yeah.
it is much more technologically outfitted because the hospital wants all of their stuff in there. And
Right.
so the building is designed that way. But if it's a multi-tenant building, I guess the way to say this is we make it fit the lowest demand, not the highest demand, so to
Well, of
speak,
course,
because most of the tenants don't want the high demand.
That's interesting.
But
Yeah.
also, Dee Dee, you probably think about privacy, right? I mean, some of the sensor
Sure.
technology is extremely invasive, right?
Oh,
So
yeah,
I
and-
advise a company
yeah.
called Lifeguard Health, right? And they're all about, enabling individuals to age in place, but they have sensor technology. They install sensor technology that's integrated with a nurse on call so that experience is enabled through a concierge service, right?
Right.
But again, the way the sensors are developed, there's no computer vision in there, right? We're not listening to people. We're doing movement tracking, right? If we know they open their fridge door, we know they enter their living room, right? We're doing very non-invasive tracking. And then I have another startup that I work with that's developing a medical device for the senior community as well. It's sensor rich, but they're not listening. There's no computer vision. So there's got to be this level of, as we think about smart spaces for the aging population, we have to maintain human dignity and we have to have those guardrails in place that we are enabling people to be obviously supported by these tools, but not, these tools aren't invasive to their livelihoods.
Oh, sure.
You know what?
Sure.
I'll add something that's a little bit more maybe the commercial facing the business aspect of that. Alice, I couldn't agree more. One thing to keep in mind, I think, in terms of connectivity, Deanie, if you're absolutely correct that everybody wants something different, right? But for the building owner, the property management, I think, you can see a trend across commercial, across residential, that property management wants to reduce OpEx, right? We want to control costs, right? We want to run more property with less people, right? And connectivity can facilitate some of that. If you're using a software platform, say, that aggregates the control of multiple building systems, right? That maybe isn't sort of sectioned or segmented for tenant use, right? But if it's for property management, that can enable things like
Totally agree on property management. Totally agree.
Data visualization and tracking of energy consumption, gas, water, electric, that can inform your, energy set points and save money and that kind of thing. And it can facilitate the management of the property with less personnel, if that makes sense.
But to be realistic, you're right about all on the property management and reducing OpEx. The challenge is they have not come up with a robot yet to go and unplug the toilets in the exam rooms when they are plugged up. Okay?
Yeah.
There are no robots like that. Amy.
Coming to an office building near you, the unplugging robot, the plumber
Okay,
robot.
Let's just, we're not going, we haven't found that solution yet.
Let me just make some notes here for my next innovation meeting.
And they don't do stairs too at this point, so we got to be careful. They only roll into elevators. Okay. These
Yeah,
robots.
they do, but they can hit the button and go to the right floors. They can do all those things. They can do that.
But can they have the? Do they have the dexterity to hold the plunger? That's really the key
you
point.
know, hey, if
Right.
there's a robot that can do brain surgery, even though they've got the dexterity. Like we can figure that out. Now, if somebody's driving it, the doctor's driving it, but at some point, just take the doctor out. The dexterity, I think, is there. I think we can get it at some point.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many robots like coming out, and I think the next year. And what's kind of led the way is the ability. So I'll do a plug. The guy that gets Intel spin out, and he's doing a really cool things around computer vision. He's coming to South by Southwest. There you go. There's my plug. But I think it's all the camera technology and AI being able to recognize different things. And that's what's really going to lead the robots down the path where they need to go. But Paul, you've got a robot made. You're the Jetsons house over there, aren't you, Paul? You got a Jetsons house?
Actually, one of my great friends does make robots, and he actually.
I can't remember. What was the maid's name in the Jetsons? What was it? I can't even remember. I'm spacing. All right, keep going. Sorry. I digress. Squirrel.
I'm far younger than you, Amy. There is actually a friend of mine who does make robots, mainly for the Japanese market. Again, to be companions with all the people. He was actually invited to the Trump Prince Charles dinner, which I can't say I would have gone. But anyway, moving on. But he's doing some amazing stuff with robots, and very much the whole interaction and making you feel, and communication stuff. It's there's some great stuff coming along. It really is. But it's the truth is, many of us are going to end up old and not like my great grandmother with 18 kids and 200 grandkids. We're going to be old and on our own, so we better all get used to this psychologically quickly. So they'll have to start getting robots who can clean our backsides for us too fairly shortly. Look, we every generation has their niches, and I think we've gone from the big family generations two, 3 generations ago back down to, we all get divorced, and our kids all leave and go around the world and all the rest, and we're probably going to end up alone on our own and dying. But I think the sense of communities, which is your first question, is really, really important here. And one of the things I've seen a lot, and we do have, I live in London, and we got a lot of parks. Pretty much everybody's within a very, very short distance of a park. And what I have seen is a lot of the cafe bars in those parks are very much community-based. They're all about bringing your kids and doing art classes, doing this class, doing that class, and getting people actually to know each other. And I do see here a massive amount of work going in to try and get even churches to get people just involved in art, in whatever it might be, rambling clubs, etc. There's a lot of painstaking work happening there, and I think people have realized that actually the truth is we're all going to be a lot lonelier than we used to be generation 2 ago. So it's good. It's good. We have to design that in.
Stop being so depressing, Paul. We're not going to be lonely.
No, we got to design this into when we're building parks and communities and housing. We got to think about the whole generational scope, not just building like we would have done in the 1960s with the baby boomers, young communities. We got to start thinking the biggest solution to that. And actually, I was over in Ireland the weekend, and the government over there are really pushing a lot of older people who are probably widowed at this stage and raise their families to really try and get them to think about actually downsizing from the houses they've lived in for their entire, pretty much their life. Because the problem in Ireland is there's a lack of housing, but there's a huge, massive disproportionality between single old widow or widowers living in 3, 4, 5 bedroom houses and a lot of families who can't get on the housing ladder. So the government are trying the best to try and motivate our older people to try and downsize into smaller houses.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that. My dad, same thing. He has a 4-bedroom house that is full of furniture that he doesn't use. It's because he's a hoarder. And I pick on my dad, y'all. Like, I love my dad.
I feel
do.
sorry for that man. I really do. I've never met him, but God, let me get my little violin out for
I
him.
pick on my dad all the time. If you ever watch this show,
But I
you're
think-
like, damn it, Amy.
But I think there's ways of doing this. I think there's ways of doing this true. I mean, we have stupid taxes here, as you know, like inheritance tax. So you die and you have to give away 40% of your stuff, which you already paid tax on to buy it in the first place. And I think there's ways of motivating older people, saying, look, if you agree to move down from this sort of size house, we'll reduce your inheritance tax bill by X. And I think a lot of people then think, oh, you know what? If I do move down to a smaller house, my kids will get a bit more money. There's ways of doing all this.
Yeah.
But they got
Sheedy
to
for Prime
free up some
Minister.
of the large houses.
Paul Sheedy for prime minister. Exactly.
And president at the same time, if
I
you
vote
wouldn't
for
mind.
you. I totally vote for you. I can't vote for you, but I totally vote for you. That's what I would do. All right, let's talk.
Spiritually, huh?
Yeah. Let's talk about the next topic, which is real estate as an industry AI ready? Is it AI ready? It's not. We all know it's not. But let's talk about how we get it.
People have been running for the last 30 years don't see change. They need to get a kick in the backside and
Deanie,
embrace it.
Are
They
you
need to
AI
embrace it
ready?
and take it on.
I know. Deanie, are you AI ready? Are you AI ready? You are. Deanie's awesome. He was using Placer way back in the day. He's on it.
I still debate that.
I know you do. That was the very first question you asked me. Do you remember? We were at the dinner
Yes.
and you're like,
And
is
I-
this Placer
I do
thing
not
really-
believe it does not correlate with medical buildings.
It
might
doesn't.
work-
It's
It
retail.
might work at the grocery store or McDonald's, but it does
Yes.
not work in a medical building. So,
I know. Got you.
but I think, medical is getting more AI ready in the sense of, you're right about property management, looking for ways to improve and reduce costs. The challenge, and I think the next thing is the next pandemic. Whenever it happens, we all are talking about what our buildings need to be different than they have been for the last 50 years. And we're trying to figure that out, and AI will help with that. Because it will come. There will be another issue.
Do buildings save us? If there's another pandemic, can we all just run inside of a building and we'll all be okay?
I don't think we're not talking about that, but we ought to reduce whatever the risk is to the people coming in and out of the buildings, because healthcare still takes one-on-one contact, and it can't all be in hospitals. It just can't.
Yeah.
And Dini, a lot of people go to urgent care and they contract
Exactly.
something they didn't have,
Exactly.
leaving urgent care. So
And they
how
can.
do you create that system? Whether
Right.
it's like infrared technology in the elevators or
Yeah,
whatever.
and there are systems being worked on right now that would test you as soon as you hit the door, before you ever see the nurse, to identify the risk. And that's, the urgent care makes sense, but I think the day will come where probably between that and security changing the way we do medical buildings. Security, definitely. That's already happening. We've had to.
Yeah.
There's too many incidents in buildings.
Yeah. So I see, like, we're in Terminator and we walk in the vestibule and we walk through the thing, it's looking, it goes, oh yeah, you got COVID. I think that's what it's going to diagnose you just walking into the building and then go that way. Don't you think? That's where we go.
It might happen that way. I'm not exactly sure, Amy, but there are systems out there being developed to test and monitor.
Interesting.
And we've talked about it over and over. AI is helping on the operational side, the back side with leases and all of that kind of stuff. It is so much better.
Yeah. No, for sure. Do you see the day when there's a urgent care inside of an apartment complex and people just run downstairs when they don't feel good?
That's depending on the size, that's already occurring.
Oh, is it? Yeah. What is it? What makes sense for it is it got to be 1,000 units, 2,000 units, 500 units for it to make sense?
I don't know the number off the top of my head. A single building wouldn't do it.
No. Okay.
It's more the complex itself.
Yeah.
The ones I'm familiar with are multiple buildings in one location.
one
So
location.
the urgent care is in one building for maybe 4 buildings or 5.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So they could just do like, you could call from your unit and go, oh, I got the sniffles, write me a prescription. I'll run down and go get it.
You, yes, you can call now if you've got the sniffles, and someone will answer and tell you what likely is wrong, and call a prescription, and the pharmacy will deliver it to you. You can do that
That's
now.
true. You can do that now. It doesn't have to be in your building. That is very
No.
true. So how is telehealth changing the medical office building thing? Is it changing it at all?
It's still behavioral health and mental health treatments are still by far where telehealth has excelled and really shown a real advantage. Obviously, during COVID and all of that, it jumped in use, but that tailed off afterwards.
Yeah. Okay.
This, especially in the U.S., but I think in most countries, people like the touch of a human when they are sick.
Yeah.
So now, Deanie, we have to solve the managed care crisis because we have to give the doctors an opportunity to have more than 5 minutes per patient in order to meet their their managed plans quota for them of 52 patients a day. Meanwhile, in India, it's like 225. So I guess we have a much better arrangement here in the U.S., right? So we should solve for that too.
Wait,
225 in a day.
Yeah, at least like there was some sort of comparative analysis.
Yeah. You have
we
that
can
many
get
people and so few doctors. That's about the only way to see them.
Yeah. Either that or just don't let them get sick. Like somehow, I don't know how you would do that, but
population health is hard to control when you have a lot more people, right? I mean, it's challenging.
Oh yeah, I mean, India was an absolute car crash during COVID. It was awful.
Yeah.
We actually know a doctor, a friend of ours, who committed suicide. She just broke and she committed suicide. She went back to India and she broke after about 3 weeks and committed suicide. It was awful. It was so bad. And people are selling their houses to buy oxygen tanks to try and save their parents because there was no oxygen. Just terrible.
Well, in Boston, they were taking oncology units, which obviously oncology units are critical, and converting them to COVID units at some of our major hospitals in order to meet the demand. So it was a really crazy time. So maybe Deanie's developing some sort of units that could be transferred to different types of units, right? That contain viruses.
He has a cape. Deanie has a cape, and he puts it on, and he's going to save the world. This is what we all need.
No. I just worry about collecting rent.
But on the OpEx side, guys, what I'm seeing is that with facilities management, there's so much utilization of machine learning, and large scale, property managers are leveraging fintech at this point. I mean, just to manage OpEx, for any kind of facilities management, whether it's vendors, RFPs, whether it's any kind of expenditures. It's just a great way to just make things a lot easier. But what I find interesting is some of the trends that are going on in places like Singapore and Japan. I think, Paul, you mentioned this too. They're using robots to help with basic operations. Like they have a robot in Singapore and several Singapore hospitals that brings the laundry downstairs and sorts it. Like, why would a human need to waste time doing that when they're dealing with patient care, right? So, Japan's also doing a lot of these kind of things, and they've implemented robotics and early diagnosis. Stanford right now is a leader in healthcare, emerging healthcare tech around AI. So they're doing a lot of things in emergent care. They're doing a lot of revolutionary things, but I think we have a ways to go here in the U.S. We're very behind the 8 ball, and I think we need to take some best practices from places like Singapore.
Yeah. I'm actually over in Singapore end of the month, so I'm only there for like a day and a half or 2 days max. But it'd be interesting. I haven't been to Singapore for a few years, but interesting what happens there. And actually, we had our government sort of annual party get together last week, and the Minister for Health was saying that he's going to literally ramp up the use of AI in medicine in the NHS massively. I was with a surgeon on Sunday, and he's saying the same. He was saying that 9/10, so they've started using AI to analyze some of the more complex work he's involved with. And he said he was surprised to see that 9/10 of what he was checking was correctly done by the AI diagnosis. Yeah. He said he still had to check each thing, but he said it was 90% there. So he said a year or two from now, it'll be 99% there. So it's really going to change things massively.
Yeah, human in the
Even
loop.
today, I really think one
with
bit of
machines.
meditation. Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
go on.
it's incredible. The confidence variable goes up exponentially
Yeah.
if you look at humans making diagnosis on their own versus the actual machine learning module versus them working together, and it's exponential. I mean, the confidence variable goes up exponentially statistically. It's incredible. It's incredible what we can do.
So let's move on to the next story about, we're using same thing. So AI, I just dropped crap. Sorry. AI is ready, but let's go to multifamily and let's talk a little bit about housing. And we had this housing affordability little issue, and I want to punt it over to Jacob. So, all right. So you're building access controls, mostly access and sensors technologies inside of multifamily, right? You're running that for RealPage.
Right.
So what is the latest new thing around tenant experience in multifamily that you're seeing?
Well, I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention something relevant to your previous question. I think AI is going to be a disruptor.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be something that enhances the industry, that supports property management and so forth. And I think it's going to take the industry a few years to kind of figure out where the biggest value points are. Right. Shifting a little to energy management, it's probably the biggest buzzword that I've heard lately in different multifamily conferences and so forth. And you'll see the technology providers in the space. I'm not going to turn this into a sales pitch. You'll see the leading technology providers in the space, right, bring more data visualization and control and AI informed actionable insights to dashboarding and to the property management experience. You'll see that value delivered to the resident in things like the ability to do more in a mobile app, a mobile forward experience, right? And that touches a little bit on connectivity as well, right? Because that connectivity can be facilitated by mobile, right, by cellular, right, or it can be facilitated by community-wide Wi-Fi and things like that. So I think the future is, definitely connected and controlled is the theme of the next, I would say 3 to 5 years. And I think energy is a big lever that people in the space could and should pull.
So explain to me this whole thing around energy, because I was a multifamily owner. Like, if you had individual meters, like, nobody cared. Like, the tenant's paying for the electricity. So is it shifted now where the tenants are like, what's my electricity bill going to be? Therefore, I must have LED everywhere? Or what kind of energy management are you talking about?
Well, I think owners and management companies across, not just in multifamily, but in any commercial concern, are increasingly more energy focused, right? And you're seeing in varying ways and sort of a roller coaster, green initiatives in certain metropolitan areas, some that are backed by municipalities, some that are mandated by federal or other government concerns that, carbon footprint and energy consumption is just something that's increasingly more visible in the space. And I think that people are looking for, not just in multifamily, but how to manage HVAC, lighting controls, access, informed by building occupancy and ambient weather data and stuff like that. Using AI for something like that is something that's coming into the industry. It's not even brand new anymore. It's been in the commercial space for some time now, but using temperature data and occupancy and other technology touch points to inform HVAC set points. So when do my lights turn on, right? As far as the building occupancy. So that's a little bit more relevant to probably the commercial space, right? But even down to the unit, right? In multifamily, if the platform you're using, your technology package includes the ability to see HVAC set points, for example, of an actionable insight is if a resident sets their thermostat to cool at night to 70, 68 degrees, something like that, but the AC only cools it down to 73, after X amount of time, there can be an alert generated sent to the property management staff. Hey, you need to go service this thing. And it's sort of informed, actionable insights, and I keep using that tagline. That's the way I know to describe it. But
Yeah.
but that is something that's a value delivered to not just the resident, but property management as well.
Oh, for sure. It's like you want to know if there's something wrong before the tenant has to tell you, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean,
Right,
you want to service it so they don't. I mean, the biggest thing for a tenant is it easy to pay you and does everything work? Like that's all they care about. Like other than I don't care that there's a Top Golf station, but I just want to be able to pay you easy and all my crap works. Like
all those bells and whistles, paying your rent from the app, messaging,
Yes.
creating a service ticket from your app, that kind of stuff. It's high value. Yep.
Yeah.
I like a golf simulator. I would go there.
Okay, you can do the golf simulator, but have if you were to estimate on multifamily, how many people have actually deployed this kind of sensoring technology? It's mostly on all the greenfield new developments, right? But not necessarily a bulk of the multifamily inventory does not have sensors, right?
No, you're correct. The bulk of them do not. But I would say the market for it is there,
Yes.
because some of the newer technology, and not to go too deep in the nuts and bolts here, but something like the LoRa technology, right, which is a wireless protocol that has much better penetration through construction materials than, say, Wi-Fi.
Right.
Right. You can deploy energy sensing, leak detection, smart thermostats over the LoRa protocol, and it's a much lower cost to deploy. Right. It's not a fast protocol, but you really don't need speed, right, to just enable that sort of next level of visibility and control at a property. So we're seeing that ramp up in retrofit.
Yeah. Well, because you run into issues. So Paul, in the UK around, I mean, you're deploying mostly in office buildings, right?
Yeah,
Is that
exactly,
kind of most of your stuff? So is it just energy management? Is that the big driver for yours, or what is for your?
Well, a lot of it is energy management. So a bit like Jacob, we specialize in occupancy technology, but we specialize in things like evacuation of high-rise buildings, real-time data on exactly who is where during that entire evacuation, where your firefighters are. But then what we've done is benchmarked all of the BSI standards, the fire regulation standards back to one dashboard. And through AI scoring have shown exactly how well you're running a building. Now, our whole narrative here is that you take your dumb building, you make it smart, and actually the savings you make completely gives you the most rapid ROI on that change. So everything from smart lightings, I mean, what annoys the hell out of me in every city I go to in the world is that you look at these high-rise buildings and the lights are pretty much all on all night long. And the reason it's so dumb, it's beyond words. And we would know that floor is now empty, and we wouldn't wait 30 minutes for the PIR to go off, and we'd instantly turn the lights off. The same with what we've seen post-COVID is the discrepancy between Monday and Friday usage of a building. So what we call the plateau effect of how each floor of each building is used. And once you get enough data in, you can work on predictive analysis of that. So you take into account your tube strikes, your train strikes, your weather conditions, your bank holidays, your midterm breaks, and how the users of that particular floor will behave in advance. And when you know that, I mean, you know whether it's going to be extremely sunny coming in one aspect of the building in the afternoon, or whether it's going to be overcast, you can predict what's going to happen with the temperature, and therefore you can start manipulating the HVAC to think for itself. And I guess what's frustrating for me is we're sitting here and I know 100% we can get buildings to start thinking for themselves, but it's the procrastination, it's the layering of management, and it's usually, sadly, certainly all these people who live in the ground floor, in the basement of these buildings, the concrete offices, but it's usually someone in the concrete office who's been there for 20 years who goes, yeah, well, mate, this is the way it's done, this is the way it's going to always be done, who just don't want to move ahead. But we've got to see it happening. I mean, I'm now pushing the government quite hard to say, look, we could chop your energy usage in commercial buildings by probably 30% in an instant. So why are you not doing that to lower the amount of coal and gas being used? Today's the first day ever in history. Today's the first day that we've actually finally got to a tipping point where there's more energy being generated from solar and wind than coal and gas ever. And the outliers are Europe and America. Europe and the USA have been increasing their carbon emissions this year because they're increasing the amount of energy they use, which means that even with the changes made on renewables, it's actually been overweighed by the amount of extra energy we're using, which is being fueled by coal and gas. The ones who are moving the fastest, of course, China's actually done more than the rest of the world combined in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
India is really fast charging. Pakistan has basically in 1 year has taken 1/3 of its energy to renewables in 1 year. So this is where I get really annoyed with the likes of Trump and a lot of the European leaders when they say it's expensive. If Pakistan can do it,
Yes.
please,
No.
it's time to move on. And actually, the Far East is really moving hard. As you all know, I don't make any apologies for being a China fan. I've been going for long enough. I see what they're doing. It's revolutionary. And you will see the impact. I think the UK government are doing a lot as well here. I have to say, I take my hat off to them. The current government are really doing what they can. They're now getting beaten up by the populists who say, "Oh, going green is too expensive." Well, it's not. It's simply that's not the case at all. We got to do it. Otherwise, we're just going to boil our grandchildren's debt. So it's up to you. Which side of your moral line you want to be on?
Yeah, I was amazed. I went to RE Plus, which is a very large renewable energy conference. They had it at the same time I was at a data center conference, and there were 40,000 people at this renewable energy conference in the United States. And it was amazing to me, and the different solutions around solar and wind and this and that and all the other, and 40,000 people went. It took over like three hotels. This conference was like the Caesars Forum and the Venetian, and everybody was everywhere. It was a zoo. But it was amazing to see, and just the amount of people that were there supporting this kind of whole industry. And I think it was like, I guess in the US, it's like, we got to figure out how we can do this and not be subsidized. Right. But, Paul, there you go. Your occupancy sensor is working.
I need to be a little more excitable. Go on, moving on.
But no. But when do you think when does the real estate industry become also an energy producer, right? And we have to be the network. We have to start providing the networks, right? Like every real estate owner is going to have to become a network provider at some point because 5G doesn't go through the buildings. So we're all going to have to do managed Wi-Fi stuff. But when do we look at the real estate building as also an opportunity to produce energy? Like, when do we think?
So many ways to produce energy in a building. It's great. I mean, there's so many ways. I mean, a lift shaft goes up and down. So guess what? If they go up and down all day long, fans on each end, it's going to produce energy. There's harnessing of energy there all the time. And just people need to go and make the investment. They know what they need? They need to be passionate about this. They need to actually give it down. And most people do not give it down. That's the truth.
Well, also investing in storage, right? You need like batteries, right? Once you harness the energy, you got to put it somewhere. It's not going to you can't put it in your like laptop case, right? You got to put it into a battery, right? Ideally. And then you probably need
also taking long-term decisions. This is the whole problem we have with democracies. Democracies think on such short-termism, 4 years, 5 years max, right? Start thinking longer term. Start thinking about
it's
your
an
portfolio
OpEx play. It's always an OpEx play. It always comes down to that.
Yeah. Pretty much. Well, we can figure out a way. I mean, so in the real estate owner world, right, if you can move stuff to CapEx because you get to write it off, and then it reduces your OpEx, then your NOI goes up. Ta-da! It's amazing.
I can tell you what, if you want Amy next week, what I might do is bring my COO on this. We've built out an incredible energy panel, which is really showing you the impact long term on your company, what your IRR is, the lot. And it might be interesting for you just to have a look at it, because you might go, "Oh, I didn't realize." And we're taking not just moving from fluorescent to LEDs, we're moving to third generation LEDs and really intelligent LED lighting. Just on LED alone, it's crazy why people haven't done that yet. And I sit here going, "My God, you're all going to save so much money. You don't need to change these lights for like years and years and years and years.
Hundreds of years.
Just get on and do it."
No, I'm with you. I'm with you there. All right, y'all. We have come to look at the end of our hour. We made it. We are here. So this has been a fun discussion. Thank you to Jacob and Alice, our newbies, who came on the show today. You did so good. Thank you.
Enjoyed it. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
So, all right. If somebody would want to sell you a medical office building, Deanie, or land, like the best land ever for you to build a medical office building on, how could they get a hold of you, sir?
Just go to best ways through the website, landmarkleadership.com.
That's awesome. And Yeah, it's great. And they can always reach out LinkedIn or at a Purdue football game or a basketball game or something.
Any of those. I'll be out there with those robots running around Purdue.
You knew it. Yeah, for sure. That's great. And Jacob.
Same question.
Yeah. How can someone get a hold of you? Same question.
Jacob.newman@realpage.com is my email address. You can probably find me if there's a prop tech show out there that touches multifamily or basically the tech space. I will probably be there. So let's break bread. Let's have coffee. Yeah.
Exactly.
Looking forward to it. Yep.
Another fellow conference junkie. It's awesome. It's great.
Love them.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Alice.
You can find me on LinkedIn under my name. Also, you can find out what I do at makingbrandsthrive.com.
Oh, very cool. And Mr. Sheedy.
ps@unify.ie or on LinkedIn or on any good pub.
For sure. Yes. When I come across the pond and I'm actually in London, I owe you a beer at a pub, I think.
Fantastic. We'll have several, okay?
Yes, we'll have several. You have to do that. You can't just have one. If you're Irish, you can't just have one beer.
It's rude. It's rude.
It's rude.
Do a few or do nothing, yeah?
Exactly. Exactly. All right, y'all. This has been the Real Estate Morning News Show. We're here every week. We'll see y'all next Tuesday, 9:30.
Take care.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye for
Take
now.
care now.